All right, we have time for one or two more questions. This is from Jordan. He says, you have had plenty of discussions regarding a one-console future, but with Apple opening up the Apple TV to allow games, and some flops like the Ouya in the last few years, I was wondering if you thought there is a possibility of a new challenger in the console market. Which companies do you believe could contend for a fourth spot in mainstream console gaming, and what would they need to do to carve out their own niche?
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
It's weird. It's been the same for a while. But it hasn't always been this way. Like
at one time, there wasn't a PlayStation, and at one time there wasn't an Xbox.
Yep. But I heard a theory, and I would need to. I guess didn't like fact check this in my mind to verify that this is true. That since the beginning of consoles, there's always been 3 people making consoles, 2 experiencing a lot of success, and 1 struggling. So it's like when there was Nintendo, Sony, and Sega. Sega was like really on the ropes, and now there's Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, and Nintendo's kind of in some trouble.
There was also Nintendo, Sega, and TurboGrafx,
right?
Which was a weird few years.
And Turbo was definitely
the best one
I'm
of
not
all
saying.
of them.
I'm just like that just popped into my head. I don't know
Yeah.
that's super verified. Like last gen, maybe that doesn't hold up because they were all kind of balanced. But that's sort of a rough rule of thumb.
So in the 80s, there was Nintendo and Sega, both gaming companies at the time. Nintendo hadn't always been a gaming company, but they decided we're going to be a gaming company.
Well, not video gaming, but yes, gaming company.
Yeah, you're right. So the companies that had the the means to enter the market were giant technology companies like Sony and Microsoft.
Yeah.
Companies that have the cash and the resources to put behind that R&D and the marketing.
Did he ask? Are we supposed to speculate on who it would be, or just
he wants to know what companies could possibly contend.
Yeah, asked.
Or like a Google.
I mean, it would be AMD. AMD is who?
AMD.
Yeah. I mean,
they're not on the same level as Sony or Microsoft.
But they're already powering all the consoles anyway. So it's like
that's interesting.
That'd be an interesting play for them.
Like it's not all you have to do is design a whole console, but it's kind of like all you got to do is just package it up and release a box with a controller and have some first party software.
I think Amazon has stuck one toe in that pond. Like they have a set top boxes, they have a Fire TV stick, they have a dedicated controller, which is like more than Apple has. Apple has been still afraid of that. There's a lot of controllers that work with iOS devices, but none of them are very straight up like, this is the Apple controller. But Amazon has an Amazon Fire controller that it looks and plays like an Xbox 360 controller. Like I was playing Crossy Road on my television a couple weeks ago just because it was there and it was free. So I think like they could probably get into it, but I think they're sort of moving away from hardware stuff too. Like they did their phones and
Hardware's
tablets.
Hardware's tough.
It's real tough.
For giant companies like Amazon to succeed.
It's really expensive.
Even Microsoft has had a challenging run trying to make hardware succeed outside of the Xbox.
It feels like Apple, if they wanted to, they could totally step in and just force their way in. I mean, if you look at Xbox, like they forced their way in. Like that was a bunch of kind of out of it old middle-aged guys who were just like, let's make the Generation X video game machine box. And they showed up and it was just like this gaudy, giant, ugly box with a big X on it. And they started making deals. And
even that was building off of DirectX on the PC. So it's like, they weren't.
They had experience.
Yeah,
they had experience on the PC gaming side. So
we've already seen an era where a bunch of multimedia, electronics giants are all, pitch in and say, hey, let's make our own box. The 3DO, the CDI, we've already kind of seen that era, and we kind of see how that shakes out. It just almost seems like an immutable rule of the market that like there's only room for so many, and one has to fall in order for there to be space for another.
I mean, it would probably be someone like an AMD or an Nvidia or a Samsung or just a big electronics manufacturer, LG. I
remember there was a lot of speculation for a while that EA would make their own dedicated console because it's like they're able to annualize most of their games anyway, but I just never see anything like that happening. No. There's no reason to.
I mean, they already have. So if the idea is like we want to get something in people's living rooms as an anchor so that we can sell them our stuff, or they already have Origin. Like that's that's a software solution to that problem. And then as far as like getting their games out there, I mean, they obviously don't have any. They're on everything. They're on every single platform. So it's not like they need a kind of a bespoke delivery system to get their product out there. They kind of like, in a way, like a company like EA, I don't really see what they would have to gain almost, you know what I mean, like from taking on the risk. Same thing with AMD, I personally think. Like, you're right, I think they could do it, but it's like you said, they're already selling
a lot of money.
They're already making a lot of money selling what they have to all the competitors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why endanger that by trying to step into the ring yourself?
It's so fascinating to me that these companies, cutthroat companies, all have AMD inside.
I know.
Yep. It's like, how does that work?
I guess technically Valve is trying to do something like this with the Steam box.
Yeah.
Which is still
we're still like
kind of nebulous and
we
don't really understand how it's going to work.
I mean, Altano, you're totally right. That in terms of pure just pure betting, like if we were to bet on who could do it and would do it, Apple is the answer. I mean, they have literally tens of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars just in cash. Like they could buy Nintendo easily, and then they would be done. They're already dipping their toes in. You know, they already have a huge software and hardware track record. They're one of the biggest software and hardware, sort of holistic view. It's sort of interesting. Like, game consoles are one of the only things where, like, software and hardware, you need to be really good at both, and they're really closely married together. And then here's this package. And like, Apple's really one of the only companies doing that to a great degree of success with iOS and their desktop OS and computers. So.
It feels like. I mean, so I guess what we're asking for here is like they need to make a dedicated console because Apple is already eating a lot of people's lunches in the gaming space. Like,
that's what I was gonna say.
I play a lot of. I was playing like Lara Croft Go recently for a while, and that ate up time I could have been spent playing Metal Gear or Mario Maker or anything else. So it's interesting. I really just think there's a sort of pride thing with their interfaces that they don't want to just be like, here is a controller. Like, if you give people a controller and you say it works with all of these games, then you're already in. Like, I think the Apple TV is your console. You're already there. And you already have people going, like, that's the thing. Like, if I get an Apple TV this fall or whenever the new ones come out, like, it has all my movie purchases on it already. It has all my music on it already. It has the last 5,000 apps I've downloaded basically baked in. All the games I've already purchased are already there. So there's already a video game ecosystem waiting for me. I just need a way to play it.
They don't need to have a game console to make $1 billion off of video games. They already do.
Sure. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Is that in a way I don't see. While you're right, they totally have all the credentials and the capabilities and the resources to do it. I don't see why they do it because I mean, and as much as it pains me to say this, by the numbers, they already have the number one gaming device in the world.
Yeah.
So
it's already in everyone's pocket.
They already have not total saturation, but as much as they could hope for, and adding a separate box to their line.
I don't think it's likely, but I think it's more likely than anyone else.
I think I think the most fascinating thing about all this is that despite all of that you're describing about how they have the number one gaming platform in the world, if you think about it, and they're making millions of dollars off of games, game sales aren't slowing down at all, and console sales are doing almost better than ever. So people still kind of want that traditional kind of core sit down.
Oh yeah, I don't kind of want it. I do.
I
refuse to let go of it ever.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. So I think there's we're gonna have to meet in the middle with that kind of stuff, I think, and Apple's gonna have to realize that before they just go, well, people just want to play Candy Crush on their phone. Like, no, I want to play Metal Gear.
Or it's totally valid for them to continue to serve that audience and keep making money off of it. And
it's also not there. Like, if someone wants to make Metal
audience.
Gear or a Metal Gear like experience on their device, they can.
Yeah.
Like, Apple's like, yo, like, do what you want. It's
sure.
Not, it's the App Store. Release whatever app you want to make.
Yep.
And then it happens to be Candy Crush that makes $500 million.
Yeah, that's true.